All right, and we're recording. How are you doing?
Hello.
Hi. I'm glad we could finally get at least one person who's in China already on a call because it's been so difficult to match the time zones. But Sarah has graciously offered to turn this Q&A into also kind of me interviewing her to see how China's going. Oh, but yeah, so well, like if Sarah has any questions, she can ask me, but I might also have some questions for her as well to like see how everything's going in China. But yeah, so how have you been doing? What have you been up to lately?
I've been sick for the past 4 days. I feel like I need to venture to the pharmacy, but I'm kind of intimidated because I brought Dayquil and NyQuil, and I'm out of NyQuil, and it's hard to sleep now. It's just like coughing and coughing. So that'll be an adventure, I think, this afternoon to go and do. But yeah, I think that there's like a lot of highs and a lot of lows in some ways, but I kind of go with like, it'll all work out and it'll be okay. Just be patient and we'll figure it out. Like some days I feel like I'm really bad at teaching, but then other days I'm like, we'll be okay. I was like, these kids are 3 years old. I was like, they don't really care what's going on. But yeah.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about the highs first, just to start on a positive note, and then we can get into the lows and also Chinese pharmacies. We can talk about that too.
For sure.
In case you're worried about it. But why don't you tell me a little bit about what's going? Yeah, Sarah's sick, but it's fine. Why don't we talk a little bit about what's going well first, and then we can kind of transition into what you're a little bit more concerned about.
I think overall, everybody, at least in Shenzhen that I've come across, is so nice. But I think it's hard because I get into the rut of only hanging out with foreigners, and part of me would like to, meet people that are like local, but we go to all the foreigner places of things. But I feel like I've met a good group of people. I met people that are teachers, and then I met a group of people that are like actually have like jobs here as well. So it's interesting to hear like them complain about their jobs, and then teachers complaining about their jobs, and some are in training centers, and then some are in schools as well. But I'm glad I chose a school and a company to take care of all my paperwork and help me out with it versus like just coming here and having a school hire me, because some of them are just like, yeah, I'm supposed to go to this metro stop and go to this building and get my paperwork done. I'm like, is nobody going with you to help you do any of this? And they're like, no, they said that I should be fine. Then they end up having to go a day again and again. So it's nice to have like a company help you. For sure.
Did they come to China with no job and find a job on the ground, or were they hired on a tourist visa and then they're transferring it over?
One of them, well, two of them, I guess, was at a training center, and then they didn't like it. They didn't think they were treated very well or anything, so they decided to go to a school, but they found the job themselves versus through something else. And the training center is being really shady about them leaving too. It's very interesting to hear the dynamic of like how they're like, we're canceling your visa, you're not going to get anything, and it's going to be a whole nightmare. You're going to get like have to go home and stuff like that. So right now, he's working 2 jobs at the training center and at the school till like the end of the month until he goes home for like a few months, which is just crazy to me of how they don't care. They're just like, no, we want you.
And his training center seems. Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, his training center is not really letting him leave.
Oh, wait, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, no.
Can you repeat that? You're breaking up a little.
His training center is not letting him leave. Is that the issue?
Yeah.
Even though, does he have a contract? Like, is he teaching legally or?
So this is another shady thing so he didn't have his TEFL, so they faked his TEFL. And so now he's rushing to get his TEFL done. And he didn't even know any of this until one day he just was in the office and saw paperwork and saw that his TEFL was like forged. He's like, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. So it was just like some shady business going on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then he's doing a TEFL and he has to write like essays and stuff. And I was like, why are you doing that? I could have told you the TEFL to take, and all you do is answer like A, B, or C, and it's like so much easier. So he's like, I got some Groupon for it. I was like, well, that was a bad decision. It would have been worth paying a little bit of extra just to have it easier, to do.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for him that TEFL is reputable. Can you hear me?
No, you're frozen. Can you hear me?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I feel like
Yeah,
my internet connection might not be good. Yeah.
I was saying, I hope for him that TEFL is reputable, because sometimes the ones on Groupon, I'm like, they won't work for China and they're not, 120 hours. So I hope he picks a good one for his
Yes.
thing.
Hopefully. I don't know. It sounds like a mess, and I always feel bad. I'm like, are you still working 2 jobs? And he's like, yes. And I was like, I don't know how you do it. But yeah, and then you hear of some people that are like sharing an apartment, like kind of assign them to, and they make like half of what I make, and I just think it's crazy. Like, I mean, like you have to be selective with who you decide, like company wise, to go with. Oh no, you're
Yeah.
frozen.
Oh, am I unfrozen now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they're sharing an apartment and making like half of what you're making. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then they don't like their job at all. And then I guess that company, it's like they were trying to leave it, and then people were like, we're not helping you because you won't be able to get out of that contract. So it's good to get into a good contract before you do it, so you're not stuck in those situations, I've come to realize. So I'm very thankful that I have people that will help me here, and then I'm making decent money and stuff. So it's a good company here.
That
And
sounds
a lot of people are part, because I did it through SIE. I don't know exactly what that stands for, but in Shenzhen, like I went to this beer festival, and so many people were like hired from SIE. So I think that they're a very reputable like company, at least in the Shenzhen area.
And you found them through Dan at Teach ESL China, right?
Yes, and I did like 2 other interviews, and then they were the highest paying one. So that was kind of nice, because even whenever I interviewed with another one and they're like, oh, we'll pay you this much, I was like, but I already got offered this much. And they're like, whoa, really? Which I don't even know if it's a lot, but I was still like, oh, this is a good deal. If they're even like, hey, that's a lot of,
Would you
more
mind
than.
telling us like what they offered you, just for people who are looking at contracts right now so they can see what's available?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem talking about money. I think it makes people more like knowledgeable and like aware of what's going on. So I know after taxes and with my housing allowance, every month on the 15th, I get about 17,400 and something dollars. Not dollars, I say dollars. It's RMB but yeah. So I get 4,000 housing allowance, and then the rest is my salary. And so I wanted to keep in my housing allowance range, just because I was like, I don't really want to spend the extra money on something, because my school is more centrally located in the middle of the city, but everything there is so expensive, or a tiny apartment. And I wanted something with like a separated room. I didn't want to feel like I was living in like a hotel room, because I looked at one place and I was like, this is smaller than the hotel that I'm staying in. So yeah, so I'm like 5 metro stops from my school, which isn't too bad, and it's a direct route. But I do wish, for just like socializing aspects, I was closer to more centrally located. So I do wish I would spend a little bit more.
I'd love to know a little bit about the housing prices in Shenzhen, actually, because I know that they can get close to Beijing and Shanghai, but it should be less than Beijing and Shanghai.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff were you, like downtown Shenzhen, what kind of price ranges were you seeing? Just because I know lots of people are interested in Shenzhen.
Yeah. So like they were telling me, because my housing allowance is only 4,000, they're like, you're gonna have to go up at least another 1,000 in order to get something closer into the city. And I'm not far by any means, it's just like more centrally located. So I think that like 5,200 would probably be more of the smaller apartment but more centrally located kind of thing. But I only pay 3,800, and we kind of negotiated it a little bit. And I think one thing is, like, if you're not happy with what the agent is showing you, ask somebody else to show you apartments too, because somebody else might have different connections or different apartments, access to them, than just that one agent. Because even though they only offer.
I was going to say, also they make 1 month's rent as their salary for finding you the apartment.
Oh, really?
They make a 1 month. I think your school probably paid for it if you don't know what I'm talking about. But they make a 1 month rent agency fee as their commission. So they're incentivized to show you apartments that aren't very good and then hope that you end up paying more. So you have to be like super firm on your budget. And then if they don't show anything you like, if they don't show you anything that you like, then you can be like, oh, I'm just going to look at another company, and then the good stuff will start coming out.
Well, that's what kind of happened to me. Like I was talking with one of the girls from the agency, and I was just kind of like my frustration. I was like, I can't find anything. And I was like, what he showed me, I was like, I don't want something that's like not really newer. I guess it's all kind of old, but like at least looks kind of newer, like fresh paint and stuff like that. And I was like, it's just not anything I want. So she called around and found somebody, and I had to pay the agency fee pretty much to the people at the apartment, not necessarily to like an agent finding it. But since my rent was a little bit lower, I had to pay a little bit more for an agency fee, which I was fine with because overall I'd be spending less, But I forget what the agency fee was, but it was, they said we negotiated it to be a little bit more so that way those people could make their money, but I still got the discounted rent price.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So did you pay a 1 month deposit and then a 1 month agency fee on top of that? Or just do a deposit?
I had to pay an agency fee. I had to pay 2 months deposit plus the rent. But I told them, I was like, I can't afford to pay my other month's deposit until I get paid. I mean, I could, but I just didn't want to pay it because I was like, you're just taking all my money from back home, and I just didn't want to do it. So they allowed me, once I got paid, then I paid my second month's rent and my second month's deposit. So that was nice. I feel like if you ask, then they're willing to work with you because I think they know that teachers are going to get paid, and we get paid decently. So we'll have the money. It just may take a month or so.
And did your school offer to help you at all with this, or were you just fine because you had like a good salary job back in the US?
They didn't. I asked them whenever about the deposit. I was like, I told them that I couldn't do it, but I could. But I was just like, is there any way that you can take, the money out of my first salary, or help me out and pay this month's rent, or I pay it when I get paid? And so the girl that was helping me, she talked to the landlord, and the landlord said, it's fine if I pay it, next month.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because I know for some people, like if you've just graduated college or something, and then they're like, 5 months rent up front, you're like, what?
I know, and I knew that you had said like you need a lot of money up front, but it's like crazy because I mean, I was not getting paid for 2 months, like from when I quit my job to when I got my first paycheck. Like I drained like all my money, I feel like, and then just like those big lump sums that you have to pay too. Like I thought about it, but I didn't really like click of me being like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to come up with all this money. And that week holiday in October is before you get paid. So if you want to do anything, then you have to plan accordingly or do something cheap.
Yes, there's been a few times where I have not done anything for that holiday because I've just taken a new job and moved to a new city, and I'm like, no. Like when I first moved to Beijing for the college counseling job, and I didn't realize I had to pay my own apartment deposit, so that was like $1,000. And I'm like, I have no money in my bank account, so I'm gonna stay here and eat noodles. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So it's like, I mean, the little things that you don't realize. But one thing that's frustrating is they don't tell you when the holidays are. Like I didn't really know that week was coming up until some of the other teachers, they're like, oh yeah, we're off for a week in like 2 weeks. What are you gonna do? And I was like, we are? I was like, I didn't know that. So like we have a whole week off, and they're like, yeah. And I was like, it'd be nice if they told us that. And
I even they just would expect you to know. And what I would do is I'd Google the Chinese office holiday calendar, and
people
vacation days will be similar.
Yeah, and then I've also asked them about the winter holiday. I was like, so when is that? And they're like, I think it starts on the 17th, and it will go for 4 weeks. And I was like, so wait, what? I was like, you don't know for sure?
Well, what's the situation of your school? So I know you're working with young kids, but what type of school are you working at, just to fill everybody in?
It's a kindergarten. So I didn't know this, and I mean, you probably know this, but I don't know if other people know this. So kindergartens here, they have like K1, K2, and K3. So K1 is like 3-year-olds. I think that there's one girl that's 2 years old in there. And then there's, I think, some people that just turned 4. And you can totally tell the difference between the 4-year-olds and the 3-year-olds. But the 2-year-old, she's good. She's so chill. She doesn't really talk a whole lot. She's very content. It's those rambunctious boys that drive me crazy. They just look at you and smile. And I was like, no, stop running. And they're like, keep on running. I was like, I give up. I was like, I get the teacher, I was like, these kids keep running, not good. And then they start yelling at them. I was like, thank you. I was like, they won't listen to me. But so I'm at the youngest one. And what's interesting about our school, and I didn't realize this, I ask a lot of questions. So I was asking the Chinese teachers and other foreign teachers this as well. So there's probably like 3 classes overall for each grade, each level. And only one class has an English teacher in it full time. And so I guess the parents for those classes pay 4,000 RMB a month for their kids to go to that classroom. And then the other ones, they pay 1,800. So when I heard that, I was like, man, this is so much more pressure. They're paying more money. I was like, are they going to be like, my kid's not talking, and this girl's in my class all the time? I was like, I think it was more me putting pressure on myself, you know, of like, hey, what's going on? So I thought that was interesting because I did not know that. And I also didn't know that you had to pay for kindergarten because it's not until you get to first grade that like school, I guess, is like required in China. Is that right? Okay. And then I'm lucky and very, very thankful, especially for my first year, that my teacher speaks some English. So it helps me a lot because there's a girl, this is her 3rd year teaching in China, and she's a certified special ed teacher, and she's in K2. She has, I would say, the worst experience with the teacher that's in her classroom. Like anything she does, the teacher goes in and she's like, no, and then goes and runs and grabs the lady that's kind of in charge of all of us, like foreigners, you know, and is like, Ashley, blah, 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 blah. And then she just looks at her and is like, sorry, she's mad because you are doing this or that. So every single thing that she's done, she just gets like, the teacher runs out. Like I don't know if she's just like jealous of her or just doesn't know how to teach or anything, but the girl was like, she hasn't taught but 3 times this whole year so far. She has no idea what she's doing or anything. But every time I do anything, she just runs out of the classroom and goes and tells on me for her doing something. Like she goes, one day I was pouring milk and she's like on my shoulder of like, and then she wouldn't say anything like pour more, pour less or anything like that. And then she runs and gets somebody else and is like, she says you're not pouring enough milk. And we're like, why wouldn't you have just told that? Like been like motion of like more milk. So get this, they've had meetings with the principal, with our company, because she's with the same company. And then like, I think that they've had like 3 meetings overall. And they're like, we realize that you're not the issue. It is this teacher. So she's been out of the office or out of school for like the past week for high blood pressure. We're like, this is probably part of the issue. And so I guess things are going to change, but they don't know what's going to change at all. But she was ready to draft an email saying like, you're going to have to send me to a different school because I can't handle this anymore.
It really, like, that's the thing, too. I have so many thoughts on this right now. Because it's like, sorry, what were you going to say?
But I, like, hearing her talk, I was like, I'm so glad that I am not in that situation for my first year. Because I would just feel so defeated and so intimidated enough of, like, what am I even supposed to do, like, teaching-wise or anything.
Yeah, and it really, okay, firstly, I really commend your school for stepping in and making a change. That, yeah. I want to say that showcases.
Well, that hasn't been a change yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But if they make a change, I really commend them for doing that. But secondly, that's the thing that's very tricky about a lot of schools is like a school might have amazing reviews, and then you just get one teacher who's awful, and it completely changes your entire experience. Meanwhile, you work at the same exact school with the same exact boss, but your co-teacher is nice, and it makes all the difference. Like, that's what's really frustrating. It's like you never know in any job how it's going to pan out. But I would say for that girl, if she's a certified special education teacher, I feel like she could probably work like at an international school or something.
But I think that so her and her boyfriend are at the same school. They've been doing this for 3 years. They kind of wanted to have fun, you know. They're like, we're not doing this for our career, we're doing it for like more the experience of like China and all that kind of stuff. Because I kind of asked the same thing. I was like, you can make so much more money doing that. And they're like, yeah, but we just wanted the experience and stuff, you know. We have our lifetime to do our teaching careers kind of thing. I was like, that's fair, that makes sense of why, you know, you'd want to come out and do it this way.
It doesn't sound like she's having that much fun though.
Yeah, well, but I just was like very impressed with our company because she drafted a letter and then sent it to one of the girls that we work, you know, and she's like, no, don't send it, we'll get it figured out. And then they were completely on her side, you know, like, you should not be treated this way, this is not how it should be, so we're going to get this taken care of.
Well, so I'd love to kind of segue into Well, yeah, I'm very glad that they're doing something about that, because firstly, that really shows that
Yeah.
they are taking you guys seriously and using you, like appreciating you as teachers rather than just using you as a foreign face to charge over double the price, which I
Yeah.
totally get where you're coming from on that as well, because when I worked as a college counselor, there's two sections. We eventually moved into the same office. We used to be in different offices, but the cheaper version was just Chinese counselors, and they were different counselors than the ones I worked with.
Mhm.
And then the one where you worked with Western counselors and Chinese counselors was like, yeah, double the price.
Yeah.
Also intimidating. But you could see kind of why they want you to be in the office, even if you don't have any classes. At least for me, like there were some days I didn't really have any meetings, but they still
Mhm.
wanted us there to be like, look, foreign teachers working here, like
And I'm like
something.
and I'm in the class all day. So even though I teach
Wow.
for 30 minutes at 9 a.m., I'm still there all day.
So what do you do when you're not teaching?
I fill water glasses. Sometimes I sit with half the kids while the other half of the kids are having their Chinese lesson. Sometimes, I mean, I'm just like in the class doing whatever. Some days I'm just like, what am I even doing? Like, this is like, they don't listen, they don't mind. But then I have to remember, I'm like, they're kids. I was telling my friend who has like a 3-year-old too, I was like, they just look at me with like open mouths of like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. And I was like, they don't understand me. And he's like, Sarah, my girls do the same thing and they understand English as their first language. I was like, okay. I was like, so it's not just like these kids learning another language, it's just like kids in general. So I think I have to keep on reminding myself, like, these are kids, you know, their attention span is about for 15 minutes. And then after that, you're just like, all right, let's stand up and do a song. I was like, you can't sit here anymore.
I totally get what you're saying though, because when I was doing my master's, obviously I wasn't there all day, but when I was doing my master's, I took a job twice a week working with one 2-year-old and one 3-year-old. And I kind of got what you were saying about how you're like, what am I doing here? Like these kids cannot, I mean, I'd be trying to do one little thing with them and they'd be on the floor rolling around untying my shoes. Like it was, but
No,
then
totally.
they'd leave the class singing a song in English and their parents would be like, wow. So it does sink in. It just, at that age, I feel like it takes quite a long time. Whereas like with a 6-year-old, I could teach them basic colors in 1 or 2 lessons and they'd mostly remember. But with the little kids, I felt like I had to just redo kind of the same lesson over and over and over again, but like change the games around and change a few little things around just to get it to sink in. But just the parents at that age just want them, they you know, because kids absorb like sponges. If you just speak in English around them, they're gonna
And mostly,
pick it
what do you
up.
talk to them about? I'm like, drink your water. I'm like, hello. And then they just look at me. I was like, say hello back. I was like, hello, hello, you know. But sometimes I'm just like, so like the actual teaching, I'm like, I'm running out of games to do. I bought hammers and they love those. It's a lot of fun. But like, I think that they want our lessons, like for that lesson to be longer than a week. But I'm like, these kids get bored with the same 5 words for a week of playing like, what flashcard is this, or what's going on, or hammer this or hammer that, you know. So that's hard for me to do. I'm like, I'm doing the same thing over and over again.
I've noticed anything active or anything with singing is really good. So like head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah.
It would be like they wouldn't even really be able to like say the words, but they'd end up on the floor like giggling and rolling around.
Yeah.
Or like I used to scribble like colors on these little cards and hide them around the room and be like, find me red, and then they'd come back and bring a red card to me. And if they brought me green, I'd be like, this is green, find me red, like that kind of stuff. But they're running. Anything that's active.
Yeah, they like to be. So one thing that's really interesting, and I don't think that parents realize this, my kids watch more TV than like actual teaching lessons throughout the day. They watch the music videos of like any sort of English song and some Chinese songs, but they will just sit there. Like that's the only way sometimes they're just like still. Like that's their like pastime, just sitting around watching TV. And I went back to like my friend because I knew that they put their kids in a daycare, and that was one thing that they did not like. They're like, "Yeah, our kid comes home, and then they talk about how they've just watched TV all day." And I was like, "Well, the kids here are doing the same thing." So they know all the songs, but I don't think they're really getting much like actual education sometimes out of things.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. Like like Chris and I, like our nephew, we kind of were living with him in China and like saw him grow up like in China and Vietnam. And like it's hard because you do learn so many things from those little YouTube videos and stuff. Like he was picking things up like that. But then you've got to like also separate like from the screen time. So I can understand why they do it if they're not comfortable like teaching that material, but I feel like not all day. You know what I mean? Like,
But yeah, some days I'm like 80% of the day they're in front of the TV. And then they told me, because our lessons are on the TV, they're like, oh, not so much TV time. I was like, but my lesson's on the TV. And I was like, and you guys put them in front of the TV. And they're like, oh yeah, Susie likes to do that. I don't. And I was like, well, I don't know what you want me to do. They're like, the parents don't like it. I was like, but you guys do it. And they're like, yeah, the kids don't tell their parents because they're too little. And I was like, this is interesting.
oh geez. Well,
Yeah.
I will say though that like just being in your presence, I feel like they will pick up a lot because I remember, yeah, like our nephew was living in China. He had a Chinese like nanny that would come a couple days a week while his parents were working, and he knew how to count to 10. And I sort of speak to him in a little bit of Chinese too. He knew how to count to 10 in Chinese before he knew how to count to 10 in English. And that
Oh,
was
wow.
with us speaking to him in English all the time. But he would sometimes ask for stuff in Chinese, and I like my Chinese is decent, but like I cannot understand little kids when they speak Chinese. I'm just like you
It
know,
all sounds the same to me.
I can barely understand little kids when they speak English. Like let's be honest, like 2-year-olds. I'm like, what are you guys? But yeah, sometimes he'd ask for stuff in Chinese, and we'd be like completely at a loss. But then his nanny would know what he was talking about. But I feel like the parents just want them to be around you to like absorb English just by being in your presence. And they probably would never want you to speak Chinese to the kids because they just want immersion, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And I joke with Chris, I'm like, yeah, if we have kids, like I want to get like a nanny who speaks Spanish or a nanny who speaks Chinese to only talk to them in that language, and then they'll just pick it up. Because like they're so little, of course they'll pick it up.
My friend, she has a kid in Seattle, and I guess they have a Mandarin teacher that comes in and teaches them Mandarin, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, so your main worry with teaching is just that you're like either running out of things to do or that you're not getting through to them, or what's the biggest worry?
I don't know. I feel like it's part of like running out of things to do, and then sometimes the teachers are just kind of looking at me like, "Oh, you're doing this again," and I'm like, "I don't know what else to do," you know. But sometimes, and I realize that I probably didn't set the standard initially when I started teaching, but they don't always listen when I'm like, "Hey, stop!" or I don't have an attention grabber, and I should have done that initially, and now I try and do it, and I feel like a lost cause. Maybe it isn't, but I feel like it is. But I think it's more in my mind than it is like actually doing because the kids enjoy it. I feel like they like to get stickers. I finally bought stickers because the school didn't give me any stickers. And like they do something and then they're like, oh, I need a sticker. I was like, but you didn't say the word, so go sit down. You know, like you have to actually do something to get the sticker. But stickers work wonders. So I get them to sing
Yes.
loud, get them to do anything. Because I show them like, look, I have stickers. Whoever can sing the best, and sing the loudest can get stickers, or whoever talks the most and stuff can get stickers. So that helps. But I don't know. I guess like some days are good. Some days I'm just like, I don't know.
Stickers
Some
are
days,
your best friend. Like I don't even if there's no prize attached to collecting stickers, they still like to collect them. And my students all put them on their hand, so at the end of the day, show their
or their
how
head.
many. Yeah, I love sticking it on their faces. It was so funny. But do you guys do prizes with the stickers or just stickers?
Just stickers. I don't think that they'd be able to comprehend anything else, honestly. I think unless like we like had somebody translating it the whole time, like they're pretty content with stickers, but at the same time it's just like hard to get because sometimes the teachers are in the classroom and sometimes they're busy doing something else, so it's just like it's hard to get it all flowing, working. But yes. Do you have any other particular questions?
Well, I was thinking in terms of like lesson planning. So how exactly is it working for you? Are you doing like, because you said you kind of do the same things in each lesson. Can you tell me a little bit about like, do you switch things up at all, or do you do like the same lesson plan a couple days in a row, or what is it been that you've been doing?
So we have to submit our lesson plans on the Friday or like by the Friday, for the next week. And we have a book that we use, and then also the TV that's on there, and the kids get sent home with the book as well. And so there's a song to get started, and then there's like something, like some sort of phrase, like this week is watch out. So they're like repeating like watch out. It's like so random. I don't know. Um, and then the next thing is usually like words. So the first time, like the first day I was like, or the first week I was doing like all the words kind of at once. And then the teacher's like, no, that's like too much. And I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, I have to do a few words on a day and not like overwhelm them of like, hey, these are all the words. And then, sorry. And then there's always a story that goes with it. And so there's like flashcard stories. So I like read through those, and then also TV reads parts of it. And then we'll watch the video that goes with the story. So that way I feel like they grasp it more than just me reading what it is. And one of them was like, like, oh no, Teddy. So now they walk around like all the time. They're like, oh no, Teddy. And they go, oh no, Sarah. And I was like, oh no, Oliver. And they think it's like the greatest thing ever. They just start like walking around saying, oh no, whoever. But so then there's a story, and then there's like a song at the end that they finish with. And then there's games on some of them, and then there's like dance moves. So it shows you the dances to do with all the songs. But I try and do another type of game, like even like hit the flashcards, you know, like with your hand as you go by, or like the hammer game of the flashcards. But it's pretty much like the same structure for each one. And then I wanted to change the flashcards this week because the words were like jump, hop, run, and it was literally the characters that we already went over, you know, doing the action. I was like, they're going to think that this is Teddy or Nikki. They're not going to think that this is run. And I asked the teacher to print it out, and she goes, but the parents are going to want those flashcards used because if they ask the kids, they need to know what it is.
Okay.
Or ones with actual actions, you know, because I like found people and it actually looks like that they're like jumping or hopping, and I wanted to print those out, but she was like, no, we can't do that.
I feel like that's a perfect example of how lesson planning, like schools giving you pre-done lesson plans, can be both awesome and also annoying.
Yeah.
Especially, it's annoying that they won't let you change anything. I feel like that's hopefully something they'll come around on. But have you been doing like, for the hop and jump, like are you having them hop and jump when they're learning the words?
Yes, and I noticed that like I do have them do that, but it gets like crazy. If everybody stands up and starts hopping, then they all start hopping forward and going, and then they don't realize that they need to go back to their seat. And I'm like, okay, go back, sit down. But I do something like before class. I have everybody stand up, and then I tell everybody to jump or hop, or put your hands up, touch this, you know, the ground, and kind of get them up and going before we do our first song. And I feel like that helps get them like their wiggles out of things. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good at classroom management of it all. But they're all just on mats, and then like one boy's like kissing another boy and just like tackling him, and I was just like, can you guys stop?
My philosophy, I was teaching, I mean a little bit older kids, but I was teaching after school training center where they'd been at school all day and then they came and were in my class, and I had a really difficult time getting them to actually sit in their seats. So I realized that the best way to do it, and this took me a while, so do not feel bad. It took me a while to figure out the best way to do it was to go with the energy of the classroom. So if they are hopping towards you and then won't go back to their seats, my philosophy would be abandon the seats. We don't need seats anymore. We're hopping and jumping now. And just do it to the point where they're too tired to do it anymore, and do it quickly. We're like, hop, okay, lay down, okay, jump, okay. And then just do it really quickly so that it gets so crazy that they fall over and like exhausted, and then they can continue learning.
Sorry, my cough is so bad.
No problem.
Yeah, but I also find that they don't really repeat the words when they're doing it. Like they jump, you know, and they hop, but they don't ever say the words. And I'm like, say it. And then I was like, I'll give stickers if you say it, you know, the loudest. But for the most part, maybe they're understanding it because they're doing it, but they're not like saying it.
But it seems like things are sinking in. Like they're saying, oh no, and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that was a lesson from a while ago. And then just this past week, they're just like, oh no, Teddy, or oh no. So it's always after nap time they come out, and then they're like, oh no, Sarah. I was like,
I think that's the thing with like 3-year-olds is that it doesn't matter if it doesn't sink in right away, as long as you just keep repeating it until it actually sinks in. Like if
Yeah.
you were teaching like 5 and 6-year-olds and they couldn't, after a lesson, if they couldn't vocalize any of the words, I would be concerned. But because they're like 3 and 4, I feel like that's fine. Like I wouldn't be too worried about them not repeating the words back to you. I would try to keep doing what you're doing with the stickers and getting them to say the words, but don't be worried if it takes a little while, because my kids, like, it took them a couple weeks until they were like, I taught them songs like hello mother, how are you, how are you, and then they would like sing it when they left the class. But it took a couple weeks to get that in. I would just like use it as a warm-up every week until they started doing it.
Yeah. And I think it's like as soon as they get a song though, like down and they can do it, then we move on to the next lesson. So it's hard. But also something that I didn't really know, but I do it now because somebody told me, is they have a little music video playing, you know, for our lessons. But like after we listen to it for a time or two, I minimize it, because when they're looking at the screen, they're just, you know, like standing there and like staring at it. So if I minimize it, then they watch me. And if I'm doing the motions, then they're more like liable to do the motions as well. And I didn't really think about that. Maybe that was somebody, you know, people who have the more of the teaching experience. So they're like, oh yeah, that's totally, you know, makes sense, or that's obvious.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. I'm gonna write that down. Minimize the music video.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like you're putting too much pressure on yourself. It sounds like
I know. I feel like I totally am. But I think it's getting better, because now I'm just kind of like, you know, whatever happens, happens. I haven't heard anything bad, so I think it's just me saying like, hey, this isn't going well.
Well,
Some
I
days,
think too. Oh, I was just gonna say, I think because, you know, if you've never taught before and you want to do it right, and they're paying all this money, of course you want to put all this pressure on yourself, and you're like worried that you're not doing it well. But it sounds like they're picking things up. My only advice to you would be to not be too concerned about them sitting in their seats. If you can sort of utilize their energy and like hop them to the point that they're tired, have them sit down.
Yeah, that makes, yeah. Another thing that I think is interesting, like, okay, I'm in Shenzhen and I'm still in like shorts and a t-shirt. Like, it's hot here still, like in the 70s. And these kids are wearing like long pants and a long sleeve with their school shirt over it. And they're like sweating. And then I turn the fans on in the classroom and then they go around and turn them off. And I was like, these kids are sweating. I'm sweating. Like, why are they like wearing long sleeve shirts? It's crazy to me.
Who is turning them off? The other co-teachers?
Yeah.
Are they
I turn them on. Yeah, they're wearing sweaters. But I'm like, I'm sweating. And they're like, you should bring another shirt to change into. And I was like, but just turn on the air conditioner, turn on the fans.
China's weird like that. Like in the winter, especially in the southern half of China, like I was in Ningbo, which actually gets cold, and they would leave the windows open for fresh air. Meanwhile, everyone's in coats. And then in the summer, everyone would be sweating, and they would not turn on the air conditioning or the fans. And I would just be like, this is so hot in here. I was gonna say maybe the kids are used to the heat, but if they're sweating too, I think their parents are dressing them because it's winter, like in Shenzhen, and they're from that. So like me in California right now, I'm wearing short sleeves, but somebody who's actually from California would probably be wearing a jacket.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. But I'm just like, and some of the parents don't even put like short sleeve shirts in their bag, because Chinese kids change clothes about 5 times a day, I feel like. Did you know that? Yes. Like anytime they get sweaty or if they spill any water on their clothes, they change their clothes. Like the kids just freeze and they're like, I can't move. They're like, my shirt's wet. But yeah, they change clothes, especially like at the beginning of the year, probably at least like 3 to 4 times a day. Like just t-shirts.
I feel so bad for that family having to do that much laundry.
Well, that's what I was telling my mom, and she goes, how much laundry do they do? And the thing is, they bring the same clothes the next day to school, right? Which is no big thing. School clothes has their names on it and stuff, you know. But it's obviously washed already. So they must get home, like wash all their clothes, and then put them up to dry because there's no dryer, obviously, and then put them back in their bag in the morning.
That sounds horrible.
I know. I'm like, why? Like, I don't know. I'd be annoyed if my kid's bag was full of dirty clothes every day that they'd come out.
I guess it's just one of those cultural differences that I wouldn't know, because I was like the only kids that little that I taught, I only taught them for like an hour. So of course they were not changing their clothes. Actually, I think it was like 2 hours. And I was like, why is the lesson this long? It was way too long for kids
Yeah.
at that age. But yeah, that to me, that's actually really funny.
Yeah, I thought it was amusing too. Like, even at the end of the day, I was like, do I have to change a shirt? I was like, it's not dirty, and they're not sweating. They're like, oh, yeah, they wore that this morning. I was like,
I mean, I
yes,
was shocked, like, living with a 2-year-old, the amount of clothes that he went through, but he was,
yeah,
like, spilling, like, he would eat
yeah,
something and it would just be all over him. And I'm like, okay, yeah, change the shirt. But,
yeah.
like, not if you spill a little water on it.
No, and these kids, like, they
Excessive.
want their clothes changed if they spill water or, like, somebody bumps into them. I was like, you're fine, it will dry. And they're, like, just looking at me. I was like, well, go get your backpack. They kind of know what backpack is because I'm like, backpack. But, yeah, it's interesting.
Sounds like it's sinking in.
Yeah, I think certain words where they just look at me. But it helps a lot if the parents talk to them in English. Like, you can tell the kids who have had, like, some sort of outside of school English or their parents speak English. Because one kid, you could have a conversation if you wanted to in English, but his mom was telling me that he doesn't, like, if you ask him a question, he doesn't want to answer it, but, like, one day he'll just start talking to you in English, like, as if he knew what you were saying the whole time. I was like, why don't you always do this? But he's really good at ignoring the English, too, when he's getting in trouble.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, if I get in trouble in Chinese, I don't speak Chinese.
Yeah, it's like he knows that you're telling him to stop or don't push, and he knows what that is, but he, like, doesn't hear you. I'm like, whatever. It's like, I give up.
My favorite thing was, like, speaking some Chinese. I didn't want them to speak to me in Chinese, but I would use it every once in a while because I didn't have I told them I didn't want, like, a teacher in the classroom because I don't like people watching me teach. It's weird. But I would hear them, and I'd be talking, and I'd hear them go, like, in Chinese, I'd hear them go, what? What's she saying? I don't understand. I don't know. What do you think she said? And they're, like, talking to each other in Chinese, trying to figure out what I'm saying. I'm like, just listen to me first before you start talking to each other, trying to figure out what I'm saying. Like, shima. Yeah. But aside from teaching, go ahead.
Well, I just thought of something. One thing that's interesting is, like, the main teacher, her daughters come to our classroom every day for lunch, and they're in primary school, which is interesting. They come and have lunch with us because we get free lunch at school, and then they take their naps at our classroom, and then they go back to school. I was like, why would you not want them to be, like, around kids their age versus coming with 3-year-olds? And I don't know, it's interesting of, like, and then they come in and they're so loud and obnoxious. I was like, don't you want the kids to sleep? And yet your kids are, like, yelling in the other room.
I feel like noise is just not a problem for a lot of Chinese people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they can sleep anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, but even, like, for example, in my public high school, there was, like, 6 to a dorm. And they would stay up and study and, like, talk, and they just learned how to sleep through all of it. So to the point when they got in college, like, a lot of in terms of, like, how respectful you are for roommates, like, they're not quiet because they've learned to kind of sleep through anything their whole life. And so it was, like, on trains and stuff, people will be like 6 a.m. Wait, blah, blah, on the phone, and you're like, why are you being so loud at 6? But everyone else is still asleep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how they can sleep anywhere, or just, like, it doesn't faze them. You hardly ever hear them be like, shh, be quiet, somebody's sleeping. They don't care at all.
There's a dorm in my college campus with 1,000 freshmen in it, and I purposely did not live in that dorm, but everybody who did live in that dorm said that they've learned now to sleep through anything and everything.
Yeah.
Because there'd be, like, 6 to 8 people in a room and, like, 1,000 freshmen in the building, so I feel like it's easy to train yourself into if you really have to.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense.
So aside from teaching, how is life in Shenzhen? How are you liking being in Shenzhen?
It's good. I like it. I mean, it feels like I'm in just any other city, like, in general, besides there being, like, a lot of Chinese and not really understanding the language. But because it's such a big city, like, I didn't realize that you'd be able to get pretty much anything that you need to for a price. Like, there is, like, Western stores that you can get stuff. You can get, like, your cheese, you can get your meat, you can get anything you want to, just for a certain price. So also, if anybody comes to Shenzhen, this is one thing that I did not know. There's an area called SeaWorld. Us Americans think of SeaWorld as, like, hey, you're going to go see the dolphins and whales and the aquarium kind of thing. SeaWorld is an area that has a lot of Western things and foreigners. There's like a big boat there and stuff. So whenever I first got here, we were all staying in a hotel. There's a few of us teachers. And one guy who had been to Shenzhen before, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go hang out in SeaWorld and have some beers. I was like, why are you paying to go to SeaWorld to have beers? I was like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, and then I finally looked it up or asked more questions, and I realized it's just like an area. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah. It's like weird because they have this big old ship there. It doesn't move, doesn't do anything. There's a water show that goes on around it. And then there's a lot of restaurants and nightlife and stuff like that. But so SeaWorld is not SeaWorld that at least Americans think of. It is more of like just an area. So I thought that was kind of amusing because it took me a while to like grasp that. I was like, so why are you going to an aquarium to go have beers? But yeah.
Kind of reminds me of in Ningbo, there's this area called Lawaitan, and Lawai means like foreigner. Okay. And so I thought that they called it Lawaitan because lots of Lawai people hung out there. No, it's Lawaitan, so Old Bund is the name. But I thought it was like foreigner beach is what they were calling it. Yeah. I'm like, oh, whoopsies.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But I think that like, I don't know if like Beijing or anywhere else is like this, but there's like different groups that you can be a part of on WeChat that do different excursions. So I feel like that was very helpful because I would go on them by myself and people seem to be impressed that I'd go on them by myself. But I'm like, how am I going to meet people? I was like, I don't know anybody really here. And I was like, I don't want to sit in my apartment and just be like a homebody. I want to, you know, go see China and see things. So I've actually gone on a few of them. I've met people that I still hang out with. So I think as soon as you get here, if you can join groups in general, it helps a lot because they have like food meetups where you can go eat with people. They have different excursions, a day, excursions or even like weekend excursions that help a lot.
How did you find the groups? Because I know with WeChat groups, somebody has to add you to them. You can't join them like a Facebook group. So how did you find all your groups?
So it helped a lot. The two other foreign teachers at my school, they've been in Shenzhen for the past 3 years, or this is their third year being here. So when I got here, I asked a lot of questions. I don't know. I'm very like ask questions because I was like, I don't know. That's the only way I figure out what's going on. And initially, because whenever you first get here, you can't get a bank account for a while. It really sucks not having WeChat Pay. And so some of the groups you have to have your WeChat wallet set up, which was annoying. Oh. But they would add me to the groups, and then some of them I couldn't be immediately, but then other ones they would just tell me what's going on. But like I would just ask them, and then slowly, like as you go on day trips and sign up for them, they add you to different groups, and then they like post more and more events. So I would just like for a while I was just adding everybody I met on WeChat, because I didn't know if I'd end up being friends with them. But I was like, hey, can I have your WeChat? And then we can hang out. And I mean, that's how I met the people that I met, and I still hang out with them. And then I met their friends because, I mean, we were out, I mean, this probably sounds bad, but we were out drinking at a beer festival, and I was like just adding people, and I hung out with them. And then the next day, one girl was nice enough to like follow up and was like, hey, it's so nice to meet you. And then that's one of the girls that I hang out with like all the time already. So it's nice to have somebody who knows what they're doing, so you can ask the dumb questions of like, hey, how do I do this or how do I do that without, looking completely dumb in some ways, I feel like.
It's a good way too, because there's always people who are looking to make new friends. Either they're new to the city or, they're on their second year, but most of their friends have already left. Like, just keep going to things, and then you'll finally meet somebody who like actually needs friends. Yeah.
And then even like last weekend I went, like Shenzhen is right next to Hong Kong, and if people don't know that, so you can get over there really easily. Like there's numerous ways you can get there. But I was going on a trip to Hong Kong, and I knew that there was a lot of issues going on in Hong Kong right now, and I have never really been out of the country or like changed like countries very much or anything. So in the group, whenever they created it for the event, I was like, is anybody going to be coming from Shenzhen to cross over to Hong Kong, and will they meet up with me and take me and pretty much hold my hand because I don't know what to do? And this Chinese girl, Selena, helped me. She's like, yeah, I'll meet you at the metro station and we can cross together and it'll be fine. And she was so nice. And we hung out for most of the day together. By the end of it, I was like, hey, would you take me to go eat Chinese food sometime? Because I haven't really had very much Chinese food. I've mainly just like eaten at school, which is Chinese, but not like good Chinese. Because it's intimidating going to a place, especially if they don't have pictures. Like,
Yeah,
and then
menus.
yeah, and it's good because there's so many people there, but I'm just like, I don't want to go up there and be like, can I get that? And then they look at you like, wait, which one? I can't see because it's like above my head kind of thing. But she was so nice. I mean, I'm sick right now. We made plans for last night, but I was like, I just need to rest. But yeah, it was, I mean, I think you just have to put yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone and talk to as many people as possible. And you never know. Just like go to events even if you're by yourself, because you'll meet people and talk to people. Everybody's really nice usually.
So which group was this that you were able, because I know you said that you wanted to meet more Chinese friends. So which group was this that you met a Chinese girl in?
It was on one of the hiking groups.
Oh,
So
cool.
like I've noticed that like whenever you sign up for an event, like when it gets to the day or two before it, they create a WeChat group for everybody for that event. So as soon as they created it, then I posted in there. I was like, hey, will anybody help me? And then they were nice enough to like be on my, because I was just gonna go by myself and I really had no idea how it was gonna go. So it was nice that she was like right away, she's like, yeah, I'll meet up with you. So I was very thankful for that. But I feel like just ask a question. The worst you're gonna get is the no.
And what about your co-teacher? Because I know she speaks English. Is she nice, or are you is it kind of awkward?
Um, the Chinese teacher. They're nice. I feel like they help me a lot, and they are like understanding. One of the like, I think that she's more the assistant one. Sometimes I can't tell if she likes me because sometimes I'm like, "Can I help you?" You know, and she's like, "No, I can do it." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just stand here and do nothing then." But like, it's just very yeah, because we were like putting stuff in the bags, and I was like, "Oh, do you want me to do this one because it has our English names on it?" And she's like, "No, I do it. Just go." And I was like, "Okay." But they're nice. I think it's just like the language barrier in some ways, you know, because she doesn't speak as much English as the other teacher, but they're nice and they help me. Because like even when I needed to refill my phone, I didn't have my bank account, I just gave them cash and then they refilled it on their phone. Or if I have questions about like different things, then they will like help me some too. But I realized I asked them if they've been to different places when I was looking at excursions. They're like, no, I have 2 daughters. I don't have time to do anything. And I was like, okay. I was like, you're from here. How have you not heard of it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know they have daughters, but you could even ask, like, you could say, if you're free one night for dinner, do you and your, daughters want to go get dinner with me? Because I need some
Yeah.
help, like, finding good Chinese food near work. And then, then you could, like, talk to their daughters in English and stuff. Because I've done that with a few of my coworkers to learn all the good spots.
But they also stay there so much later than us. Like one day they were like, we were there till like 8:30, and I'm like, but what were you doing? You're never prepared for class. Because
Sometimes
like,
Chinese people stay late at work to appear to be working so that they will get promoted because they have to stay late because they're working so hard. They're not
yeah,
doing anything. I finally
that's
stopped
yeah,
worrying about it and my
yeah,
job because I was like, what are they even doing? They're not doing anything. They're just
yeah.
staying there late so it looks like they're working hard so they'll get promoted. That's what's
And then
happening.
they post stuff on their moments on WeChat of like, oh, I'm finally leaving the office or the classroom at like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, you're not doing anything,
What could
you
you
know?
possibly be doing?
I know.
Nothing.
I was like, you still are like going back and forth to the computer, getting images on your jump drive to put on the big TV. And I was like, and then you're reading the book of what you need to do. I was like, you guys are just like piddling. I was like, I'd
Yeah.
be like, trying to get everything done so I can leave and go enjoy life.
I
Yeah.
finally stopped letting it affect me because I was like staying late because I thought like everybody else was, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, do I need to be doing more work? And then finally I was like, no, they're doing nothing. Like I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go home.
Yeah. Like
God.
we have to stay till 5, but the kids leave at like 4:15. So I literally sit there on my phone the entire time because there's nothing else to do. I mean, I could work on my lesson plans, but they take like 30 minutes because they're pretty much made, because we have the book and stuff. So I just sit there and like maybe eat a snack, charge my phone, and just like wait for 5 o'clock to roll around.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Yep. That's yeah, rules. But I feel
Yeah.
like it's good that in terms of like finding Chinese food and stuff that you've got this girl to kind of help you because I feel like it can be intimidating if things don't have pictures One thing that
Yeah.
you can do is, because a lot of times the pictures on the wall, if they have pictures on the wall, it's not actually what they serve. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, and then like I've done that before, and then they have to go ask another lady like, "What is this?" But I did find that like some places you can scan the QR code, and then there's pictures of the actual food.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, that's
And
come a long way as well in the last couple of years.
yeah, and I
Um,
did order my first like to-go food from the guys on the scooters last
okay.
night. And then I ordered, well, I thought I was getting hot tea, but it was not hot tea from Starbucks, but I just heated it up on the stovetop. And that came so quickly. I was like so excited. I was like, I can't get in a habit of this, but it was so
Yeah.
convenient.
Waimai and Ele.me, for people who don't like know what we're talking about, like, yeah, where you can order basically like what, like Uber Eats and stuff in China, but it's so
Yeah.
cheap. Sometimes it's cheaper to order in than it is to actually
Yeah.
like eat it at the restaurant and take it away yourself.
And it helps that there's pretty much pictures for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like at the restaurants, there's not. One thing that I think helped me, and even somebody was impressed because I was using taxis and all just DDs, and DDs are like Ubers. I had somebody put my Chinese address for my house into my phone in the notes. So anytime I get into a taxi, I show them that, and then they're able to take me to my house. Because one of the co-teachers or the other like foreign teacher, she goes, I never take a taxi because I don't have my address. I was like, oh, I just put it in my phone and I just show it to them. And she goes, oh, I never thought of doing that. So I had somebody set up all of my accounts, my Taobao, my the two like ordering apps and everything with my address, so I knew that it would get to me. I don't really know how to do anything but like press like order on Taobao or add to cart, and then I have to always do the Google Translate. But have somebody that knows Chinese set all that up for you, because it'll be like so much easier than you're just like hoping that it will get to your apartment.
Also, if you use Google Chrome for like Taobao and JD.com, sometimes it'll auto translate for you on the screen, which can be super helpful if you're trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, I use it on the app.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I won't do it for the app.
But there's also Bao Pals. Bao Pals. Have you heard of that? So it's like Taobao, but it's all in English, but the prices
okay.
are yeah.
I've heard of some of like Taobao Friend and like I don't know, remember the names, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I'm also a part of this group. It's called Taobao Queens. So there's this guy in there. If you post in there like, hey, I need a set of sheets or I need this or that, he'll find you a discount code for it, and then you just copy the link and open the Taobao link, and then you'll get like a discount.
Oh, that's amazing. You know all the good stuff.
Sorry. But yeah, it's so convenient because like anything, I was like, I want an insulated cup. I was like, can you find me something like a Yeti cup? It was kind of different, but I was like, it's cheap, so I just got it. But I posted numerous things, like any sort of food items or clothes people post in there, or if they want like a computer or anything, he'll at least help you. And I think he even orders some things for people, and then they just send him money.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and there's like 500 people in the group, so it's like nonstop people posting stuff. But sometimes it's dangerous because you see the link and you're like, oh yeah, I could use that. I could use that. And you're like, not really, but I'll get it anyway.
Once you figure out Taobao and JD.com, it becomes dangerous.
Oh, I know. So also I found out, so Teacher Appreciation Day was like a month or two ago, and the kids brought in gifts and stuff. And I guess they're not supposed to give money or like gift cards and stuff to you. But like a day or two later, the Chinese teacher was like, oh, here, this is from, I don't even remember who she said, but we got a 500 JD gift card.
Geez, that's like almost, for anyone listening, that's like almost $100.
Yeah, like I guess all of us got it. But I think that she saw it and she hid it until a few days later because technically we weren't supposed to get any of that. So it was nice. I bought new shoes and stuff.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I'm glad that it sounds like things are actually going pretty well, like aside from your like worrying a little bit about, being a good teacher, which to me, it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job, and you're finally starting to meet some local friends, which can be hard because of the language barrier, but it seems like you're finding people through WeChat groups. And then, yeah, I mean, with the food, the apps help. If you can find a food tour, that's actually a really good way to figure things out. And then if you like the food, you can write it in your phone in Chinese and Pinyin, and then go find, show it to somebody that serves that food. That's a good way to find good food. And then, yeah, and if you can go out with your co-teachers or Chinese friends, they can obviously show you the good stuff.
Yeah. And I've met one girl, she's from Belgium, but like like you, she went to school to like and speaks Chinese. So it's very handy. Like I've had some apartment issues. So but my landlord's like, hey, call this person. And I'm like, do they speak English? And he's like, no, but they know you're calling. I was like, but how am I gonna be like, hey, come here? But I just sent her the information and she's so nice and she'll call and like relay them the message and stuff. So it's been helpful to have somebody
I
who
was that person.
speaks English and speaks Chinese, yes. I know. I still thought I
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, will you dinner or something for helping me out so much the past like 2 weeks?" Because every week there's something going on. It seemed like there was water spewing out of my air conditioner, like into my bedroom.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I had that problem in Vietnam, actually. We had to get that fixed.
and then I kept asking. I was like, "Are you gonna pay for this, the landlord?" So I started doing that every time something was going wrong. And they finally said, "This is the last time I'm gonna pay." But I was like, "But this isn't my problem. It's yours." But he's still
Yeah,
nice.
with the water, there's supposed to be a tube that comes out of it and puts the water outside, like it's
Yeah.
condensation. So it seems like at least for me, it was where the tube went into the air conditioner, it was leaking out of there.
Yeah, and I also like he cleaned the vent, like the screen, and that had a lot of dust in it too.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
yeah,
think that
definitely.
makes a big difference. But I
I
had
think
him show me how to clean it or how to open it back up and to clean it later.
I've noticed that a lot of Chinese landlords, they just don't, and this is coming from like my dad actually like rents places out to people in the U.S. as landlord,
Yeah,
and he takes such good care of his properties because you need to, otherwise they'll go downhill and they'll start falling apart, and then your investment will go downhill.
yeah,
But in China, I feel like they just don't, like they don't take good care of their properties. They don't maintain them very well. And
yeah,
it's hard for me to understand in an investment sense, like why. But I've
yeah,
definitely noticed that, and I'm sure you have too, with them not
yeah,
cleaning out the air conditioning vents and things like that. Things
yeah,
that you should do as a landlord, but they just don't.
yeah. And I don't think that they did like a deep clean of the place before I moved in.
No.
Yeah, but it is nice. Like my apartment, like I still left the plastic on the TV, but the TV was brand new, the couch was new, the bed had the plastic on it, the washing machine still had plastic on, so everything was new. So that's what kind of attracted me, to this place because I was like, I
Hmm.
feel like it's okay, but I was like, at least the things that I'm gonna be like sitting on or sleeping on, they're all new. So that made me
That's
feel
nice.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would recommend everybody getting an HDMI cord for their computer to hook up to their TV so they can watch stuff. And also, one thing I found ExpressVPN, it has been awful. Like, it was a waste
Really.
of money for me. So I have gone Astrill, Astrill, and that one has worked like wonderful. Like, no problems whatsoever. But I would like wait and do like the 7-day free trial of both of them to see which one works best for you when you get to China. Because I thought Express, because like you had talked about it and other people had talked about like how great Express was, but it has not been good. And other people have had issues too. And then the customer service, they always like, chat with you, but their response is, oh, China has their firewalls. And so our engineers are working constantly picking up. I was like, yeah, but that's not the issue. I was like, the issue is other people, it's working for them, but it's not working for me. So why is it not working for me? And they just give me the same canned response. And I was like, okay, well, I'm done with this. And then I tried to
That could
get,
be. I was just gonna say that maybe they got to, because I even went like a few months back and used Express and it was fine, but maybe they got too complacent, if that makes sense. Like
yeah,
they're so popular now that because Astral's customer service is also awful. But if it's actually working, that's good to
yeah.
know because then I can start
But
recommending that one
yeah.
instead.
But I also, like Astral's not really like a VPN. It's something kind of different.
Hmm.
Like, but it works better. Like I don't like I can when I was and I don't know if it's the phone company that I'm with, but like I couldn't use my VPN on data. I had to be connected to Wi-Fi, which was really frustrating to me. I was like, I'm fine with using the data, but I was like, it won't even like connect to the VPN. But Astral has no issues whatsoever, and it works great for like all the streaming services of Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and stuff like that too. So it's another option of
So
things that
Express wasn't working, or a different company wasn't working on.
Express wasn't working.
Weird.
Like, and then get this. So one night I was talking to them on the customer service for like a while, and then they're like, okay, well, uninstall it, and then here's the link to like reinstall it, but you're going to need to restart your computer. When you restart your computer, everything closes down, so you don't have the link anymore. And I wasn't connected to a VPN, so I had to message my sister on iMessage, and I was like, hey, can you send me the link for ExpressVPN, because I can't open it to to download it again. And so luckily that worked, and I was able to download it and chat with them again. I was like, this is just a joke. I've spent the last 2.5 hours trying to get my VPN to work.
That's how I felt about Strong VPN, is why I stopped using them, because VPNs come in waves in China where they get complacent, or they change their prices or their customer service or whatever, and then another company picks up the slack. So like, for a while there, a lot of people switched from Astral to Express because Astral's customer service was so horrible. And I think now Astral has stepped up their game, whereas Express is slacking. So that's good to know. So I can recommend Astral. So I've been hearing a few things about. I feel like half the people I talk to say Express is great, and then the other half are like, no, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So,
but just recently, like I've heard a lot of people having issues with Express, so I was recommending them Astral for sure. But yeah, because I was one of my friends who like does marketing, like she just recently got a job, here, so she needs the VPN to do like the social media posting and stuff like that. I was like, what VPN are you guys using? Because I was like, mine is just awful. And she goes, Astral, we have no issues whatsoever. And then I was at somebody else's house, and then they had Astral, and it popped up just fine. I was like, okay, done. I'm doing the 7-day free trial, see if it works, and it did. So I was like, I'm spending the money on it.
Did you get the regular plan or the most expensive plan? Because I know Chris uses Astral, and he got like they have like this most expensive plan, but he does a lot of like online gaming and streaming.
I did the basic one.
Okay.
So I think it ended up being $120 for a year.
So a little more than Express, but almost exactly the same.
Yeah. And then I tried to talk Express into giving me a partial refund or anything, and they were like, no. And I was like, whatever. I was like, I'm done with this. I was like,
well, that's good to know.
Yeah, because I was passed because I got it back in August before I left. So, I have a random question for you. So Mobike is like, the bicycle sharing app they have here in China. So I'm having an issue because I can't get it on the US App Store. And then when I change it to the Chinese App Store, I have it. But when I click on Get, it's saying, hey, you have to switch back to the US App Store to get it. And then when I change to the US App Store, like the page refreshes and then the app's no longer there. Do you have any recommendations?
Interesting, because I just went on. I have an iPhone. What kind of phone do you have?
So do I.
Okay, so I just went on my normal app store and typed in. You might have to type in Mobike in Chinese. That might be it. I'm trying to remember what I did.
Because if I type it in English in the Chinese app store, it pulls up. But like on the US one, it like won't pull up anything. It pulls up different ones. And then like for the mini program on WeChat, it says because I'm a foreigner, then I have to register with the app.
I think part of the issue is that I might have downloaded it before. And it was always an English version that I used.
Yeah.
I don't remember having any sort of an issue. Potentially have somebody type Mobike in Chinese into the English app store and see if it pops up.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the issue would be.
Yeah, because like everybody I've talked to, they've gotten it like in the past few years, so they haven't recently tried, or they don't have an iPhone and they can do some sort of like, I don't know, conversion thing on the Google Play.
Okay, I'm trying it again because it's not installed on this new phone.
Okay.
Type Mobike. I'm finding Ofo. Do you guys have Ofo?
I don't know. I know that Mobike, I heard that the other bike sharing apps kind of got taken over by Mobike. So now it's just pretty much
okay. Because to be honest, I mostly used Ofo, which is this yellow one.
Okay. Yeah, we only have the orange bikes.
Okay.
And I tried emailing the customer service, but I haven't heard anything back.
Let me see. That's so weird. Yeah, I'm not even seeing anything in here in the US App Store.
But if you switch it to the Chinese one, then it will pull up. But then it told me that I need to switch back to the US one, and I was like, what is going on? I had to do that with another app, and it worked out fine, but the Mobike one won't work.
That is
because my friends make things like more convenient, to be able to ride the bike too.
And you don't have OFO? That's all the yellow bikes?
No, it's pretty much all orange ones that I see around.
Let me see. That's strange, yeah, because I'm not seeing it. Because I don't think I ever I got a new phone recently, so I never installed Mobike on this phone. Let me see if I can find. Because I know you can book some things through WeChat as well. Have you tried doing that?
Yeah, but it says because I'm a foreigner, I have to do it through the app instead of the mini program.
That's so annoying.
Yes, these are the small things that you run into as a foreigner here in China.
Yeah, it's always something, right? Like, for example, there is Amazon in China, but you need to have citizen ID to use it. Or, for example, before Uber was taken over by Didi, before Didi existed, there was Uber in China, but you could not pay with a Chinese card unless you had a Chinese citizen ID number. And I was like, are you kidding me? I don't want to pay with my US money every time I take a taxi. I want to pay with my Chinese money. So I actually met somebody who worked for Uber, and they were like, I'm sorry, it's nothing I can do. Like, they work for Uber in China, and they're like, there's nothing I can do about it. It's like a government policy. They need a citizen ID number. And then what happened was Uber got taken over by Didi, who then allowed foreigners in China to use Chinese cards, and nobody wanted to use Uber anyway, and then it was taken over.
Yeah, one thing I would recommend is to download Didi before you leave for China. Because some people have been having issues getting the English version of Didi, for some reason. I don't know if it's because they buy their phone here, and it's a Chinese phone or what. But, I would download Didi before you leave, at least for US people. I did that, so I have the English version. I have a friend who I think got her phone in Hong Kong or something like that and was just having the Chinese version every time she was trying to do it. And Didi, you can have multiple payment options. So initially when I wasn't getting paid, but I still wanted to use Didi, I could load my US bank card on it and use it. And it was kind of nice because I was like, oh, it's only $3, $4 when you exchange. But I was like, it's so easy. And I was like, I can't get in the habit of taking Didis everywhere.
Yeah,
I was like, it's so much cheaper.
It's tempting. Like, if I had a rough day or whatever, I would just take a Didi home from work because it was like $4. And then I'm like, no, but when I actually think about it in terms of my salary and this and that, it's adding up if I do this all the time. So I would do it every once in a while. Yeah.
It was hard for me. I still sometimes feel like it's hard for me to grasp, when you spend 100 RMB on something, in the US, spending $100 on a drink or on a meal, that's going all out for something. But here it's not as big of a thing, just a conversion. So for a while it's hard for me to grasp just how money is here versus back home and stuff too.
Yeah, so it can take a little while. I had this app, XE, on my phone.
I use that too, yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of help you. I mean, I mostly needed it for Vietnam because it's 100,000 dongs, $4.
Oh, you're like, what am I doing?
How much is 5 million dong again? I don't know. But yeah, 100 RMB is $15.
I think it's a little bit over $10-ish
now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't 60 be 10? Isn't the exchange rate 6.2 to $1? Or at least it was pretty reasonable. I'll have to check it. 100 RMB is $14 US.
Oh yeah. So yeah. When I first got here, it was right around $10. So it's easy for my mind to think okay, 100 is really $10 and go from there. So, also another thing that I did not do, I'm dragging this on, I apologize, that I did not do, and I think I mentioned it in the Facebook group. Exchange some money before you come to China. It'll make life a lot easier because I got here at 1:30 a.m. and my bank card didn't work in the ATM. Couldn't find any exchange things. Luckily, a nice guy helped me and I traded him money and he told me exactly where I need to go for the taxi. He walked me there and did everything and helped me out a lot. But I would definitely make sure you have some Chinese money before you leave home.
I think especially if you are coming in at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah. And it was a little bit later because my flight got delayed and stuff like that, but my bags didn't make it, so I literally had nothing.
Yeah, because
Because
typically if you come in during the day, a lot of schools will pick you up from the airport. So if you don't have any
yeah,
money, it's fine because somebody can take you that afternoon
yeah,
to the ATM. But since you arrived, I feel like, yeah, if you arrive late at night or if you arrive by yourself,
yeah,
definitely maybe just a little bit because you don't want to like waste a ton of money in bank exchange rates. But even if you
yeah,
get yourself like exchange $20 or something just to give
yeah.
yourself
Yeah, it would have been helpful, but
stress.
I was so thankful for that guy because I literally would not. I don't know what I would have done for if I didn't meet somebody that I was willing to like change US. He was pretty much giving it to me, but I was like, "Here, let me see the conversion." And I was like, "I have US money." I was like, "I'll give it to you instead." But he was really nice. So
That's good. I mean, I'm glad that you found somebody. That happened to me once where I like ran out of money in China and my stupid ATM card didn't connect to my bank account because it was like some
yeah,
rural bank and I couldn't get any money on my
yeah,
card. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have enough money to take a taxi home. I could take the bus. Oh, wait, the bus isn't running anymore because my train
yeah,
got delayed. And I'm like, this is a disaster. And
and yeah. And not all banks you're able to take money out from, at least my bank card. Like even though they say that they take Visa or whatever, like some of them just wouldn't like take money out. So you just have to keep on trying until you find a bank that works.
also, sometimes at the airport, sometimes in China because it's such a cash driven society, especially in the past, like now it's a little bit better with mobile
Yeah.
pay, but ATMs run out of cash. So like
Uh,
sometimes that's a thing too where you go, especially in the airport, especially
right.
on days that are busy, you go to use
Yeah.
the ATM and it doesn't work because it's out of money.
Yeah. So that might have been the case too, but I was just like so overwhelmed and I was like, okay, Sarah, it's deep breaths. I was like, it'll be fine, it'll work out. And then he luckily walked up to me because he, I think, was behind me at the help desk and I was trying to like do Google Translate of like ATM currency exchange. And he saw me still wandering around and he's like, what are you trying to do? And I was like, I need money.
Yeah, because if you arrived earlier in the day, there's all these cash exchange places that are open. So if the ATM doesn't work, boom, hop over to one of those, hand
Yeah.
them $20, just get some cash, you're fine. But I
Yeah.
would definitely agree with Sarah. Like if you're arriving after 10 p.m., just exchange,
Yeah.
or if you even late in the evening because your flight might get delayed, just
Yeah.
exchange $20 before you leave at the
Yeah.
bank just in case. And the exchange rate will not be good probably, but it's good to
At
just
least you can get food or
yes, yeah.
transportation because I was literally like just had my US money and it didn't even click. I think I was just like so overwhelmed with like, okay, I need to get on the plane, I need to do this and that. It didn't even phase me. I was like, I have US money, I'll be fine. And even my sister's like, just take money out of the ATM when you get there. And then I couldn't do it. And I was like, what am I even doing here?
Download your VPN and get some cash if you're going to arrive in the
Yeah.
evening, I guess. Because I know
Yeah.
Astral, especially, like, I wanted to test Express versus Astral last time I was in China, but I
Yeah.
had Express on my phone and I wanted to test it. I went to get Astral. I couldn't even download the app in China. Like, how did you get it in China?
Um, so this is interesting. You have to log on to a VPN and do it.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I
So
feel like I was on Express trying to download the Astral app and it still, like, wouldn't let me install it.
So on my phone, I found a free VPN, and that one was working better than Express. So I logged into the free VPN and got the Astral app, and then did all my information that way. And then luckily with the Mac, you can open up your Safari that's on your phone on your computer. So that helped me out too. So then it kind of connected that way. But yeah, everything is an adventure, and there's like always some sort of obstacle, and I feel like you just kind of can't get frustrated and just it will work out.
Yeah, one person said to me recently that they like to view living in China as a video game where you like level up and have quests. And so it's
Okay.
like if it takes you a couple days to get something done, like that's
Yeah.
okay because it's like I'm on day one of this adventure, and
Yeah.
yeah, they're like, oh, I've passed the banking in China 101 level, and then now I'm
Yeah.
gonna try, yeah, going to the pharmacy for the first time, and it's like
Yeah, I'm kind of
you think
intimidated
of
with
it as a
that.
video game and achieving different
Yeah.
levels and getting badges, and I found that really funny.
But it's so interesting to me also, like I tell some people, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to go do this or I just went and did that. They're like, you did that by yourself? And I was like, yeah, I mean, how else was I gonna do it? Like if I forget what it was recently, but they're like, you went by yourself to do it? I go, yeah. I was like, I don't know how else I would have gone to go do it. So
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people they find their person, right? Like
Yeah.
your friend, where is she from?
No, or she's from Belgium, but she speaks Chinese here.
Yeah, yeah. Where like they
Yeah.
find their person, either a foreigner who speaks Chinese or a Chinese friend, and they're
Yeah.
just like, please help me do this, please help me do this, please help me do
Yeah.
this. And as somebody who was that person but has also used Chinese people as that person when I
Yeah.
can't do something, it's
Yeah.
like I'm so appreciative when people help me, but like when you are that person, it's fine for like a while, and then
Yeah.
after a while you're just like, oh, especially if you have lots of people coming to you for help, you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I don't speak Chinese anymore. Please stop asking me to do stuff. But
Yeah.
I feel like if something is really bothering you or you can't figure out how to do something, you definitely should reach out to those people, because for the most part, they are happy to help you. But they will appreciate like if you can do what you're doing and like try something on your own every once in a while.
Well, that's what she told me, because so there's an app that you can have a cleaning lady come to your house and clean for a few hours for like 100 RMB, which is like pretty cheap, but it's all in Chinese. So she's like, I'll put my phone number in there so that way they can call me, you know, and I can tell them what to do. I was like, okay, perfect, not a big deal. But they ended up calling me still, but luckily I was at school and I had my Chinese, you know, teacher talk to them and was like, hey, whatever. And I was like, okay. And then whenever she finally came here, I was like, hey, I was doing through Google Translate, and then I just figured it out on my own, even though I could have called my friend, and I was like, and I had called her, but she didn't answer, so it worked out perfect because I was forced to make the conversion and like talk to the lady, you know, instead of just being like, hey, Charlotte, can you talk to this lady and tell her I need to do this or that? But she even commended me. She's like, good job, way to do it yourself and learning the Chinese way of just like doing Google Translate and, you know, figuring it out on your own. And she even told me, she goes, I don't mind helping you because I know when you're asking me for help, you've already tried, you know, you've tried to figure it out on your own. You're not just like going to me for the first thing of like, hey, can you order this? I think it's a big thing of just like trying it, give it a try, you know, just don't, you know, have your crutch that you always go to for everything, which makes things easier, but you're not going to learn that way.
Yeah, and I think that too, there's a big difference between like, yeah, trying something yourself or like asking nicely, and then having somebody be like, do this, help me with this, like all the time, and then you're like, dude. But I mean, I feel too, like I had a Chinese roommate where I'm like, can you talk?
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had Chinese people like take my hand and like go with me on the bus to somewhere because I like couldn't figure it out myself. So I'm like, Chinese people can be so nice. Like,
oh, that reminds me. So the 70th anniversary of China just happened recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in over a holiday week, and there's supposed to be a big fireworks show, and I thought that I'd be able to see it from this one area, and they even said, hey, metro stops will probably be closing down because there will be so many people here and there. And then I waited around before I left, but I didn't get to see the fireworks show. I was annoyed. But anyway, so I was trying to leave, and the metro stop was closed, and I was like the only foreigner around. And I was like, how do I get anywhere? This little 12-year-old girl who spoke English came up to me and was like, what are you trying to do? Do you need help? And I was like, yeah, why can't we go to the metro stop? And she goes, oh, that's closed. She's like, come over here with my mom and I, and we'll figure it out. So we walked to like 3 different metro stops, and then we were like a cluster of people going through like a long queue to get into the metro stop. But she was so nice, and they were like, they kind of made me feel like I had never been on a metro before, but I had, you know, they're like, okay, you need to go this one or that one. But I was just so appreciative that like a 12-year-old girl came up and saw that I was like looking so lost, and her mom like helped me like get on to a metro, because we had to walk to like 3 different metro stops just to get on. But yeah, there's a lot of nice people out there. I feel like when I've been really lost or needed help, people have helped me.
And that's one thing I would always tell to my students too, is that they've been, especially the high school students, would be so nervous to speak English. And I'm like, pretend I speak zero Chinese and I am lost and I need help. Do you think I care if you make a grammar mistake? Would you care if that 12-year-old made a grammar mistake? No.
And she loved talking English. Like that was her thing. I think that she just loved having to be able to converse and like, you know, have a conversation in English. But I think that she went to an international school, because she said some of her friends live like in New York or like are from New York or Washington D.C. and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nice. But it was nice. I feel like that was like so helpful that she randomly came up to me. I mean, I stuck out a lot, I think, out of the crowd, but I don't know if her mom was like, hey, go help her or what, but I was very appreciative. I would have been out there for like so much longer if she didn't come up and help me.
That's That's so nice. I'm glad you finally made it to the Met.
I know a 12-year-old is helping a 33-year-old how to get around China.
But I mean, we always, like, everybody needs, like, when you move to a new country like that, there's always going to be some day or some situation, even if you do speak Chinese, where you need somebody to, like, take you by the hand and, like, lead you somewhere and make sure that you get on your train or that you get on your bus or that you find your location. So it's, you know, it's always good to know, too, for the people who aren't in China yet, that people will actually help you.
Yeah. I think they realize when you're super lost and confused, and they're like, okay, this girl needs help. So.
Yeah. Was there anything else? I know we've been talking for like an hour and a half, but is there anything else that you wanted to mention in the video that you want people to know, or anything else that you've been worried about?
There's not anything. Like, I think one thing I was worried about whenever I first got here, I kept asking people, like, what am I gonna want that I can't get here? And you can get almost any, unless it's like super particular, you know, like for the most part, you can get pretty much anything that you want here.
It just might not be the same price as it would be back home.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit more money, but I mean, like, worst case, you can get it here, so don't, like, worry about that, you know? But I don't know. There's nothing that I can think of, but if anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to message me or ask me on here, you know, of
you able to find fitted sheets in China? Because I bought some from home before I figured out Taobao, so I was wondering.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so let's talk about that. I feel like I have a story for everything, but some of it doesn't really seem as important.
Talk about fitted sheets.
Can I go blow my nose really quickly, and I'll be right back?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just checking out the fitted sheets for everybody, because that's the one thing I'm not quite sure if you could actually find them in China. Because I brought some from home before I finally figured out how to use Taobao and JD. Because I spent an embarrassingly long time before I learned how to use those websites, so that's cool.
Okay,
just talking to the viewers about the embarrassingly long amount of time it took me to learn how to use Taobao and JD.
Oh yeah, it takes you. I mean, yeah, you just kind of have to go for it. Order something small and then hope for the best that gets to your door. And also, one thing on that is all the apartment places, and maybe because I'm not from like a huge city and I didn't live in an apartment, but they had those boxes, you know? So you scan the QR code. Some of them have the English translation box, but you get a code and you have to type it in. It took me a long time. I had to have the security guard guy help me figure out.
I had to have someone help me, and I speak Chinese. I didn't know what I was doing. It's like, security mailboxes.
Yeah, which are so convenient once you figure it out, but it's also like, I don't know where to start to figure it out. And sometimes they bring it to your door.
Because that's what all my coworkers did, so I just didn't worry.
Yeah, they told me I could do that too, but I was like, I don't really want you to go through my email. Okay, so the fitted sheets. So I move into my apartment. First I couldn't open the door because the Chinese locks. You have to click a little bit further to open it. I don't know if it's all doors, but I went back down to the security guy and I was like, I can't open my door. He came up and tried it and it worked just fine. I was like, awesome, this is a great start too. And then one of the leasing guys came up and he wanted me to sign. I owed him a little bit more money, so I paid him and then I was like, hey, where do I get sheets and towels and that kind of stuff? This was all through Google Translate, obviously, because he does not speak English. And he's like, hey, go to this metro stop. There's a mall. And so I walk around the mall for a while. Couldn't find really anything. Then there's this one store that had sheets and stuff like that. And they do bed sizes differently here. So in the US, we have full, queen, king, and that kind of stuff. Here they do 1.5 or something else. I don't know.
Meters?
I have no idea, and I still don't understand it. I was like, I don't know if I have a double-sized bed or if I have a queen-size bed. I think it's kind of in between that size. But the sizing is weird, and even when I Googled it, I couldn't figure out how to do it. But so I go to the place, and the girl there does not speak English, obviously, but I'm trying to get sheets. And I messaged the girl that helped me find this apartment. I was like, hey, what size is my bed? I don't know. And she took a long time to respond, which was fine. But because I showed the picture of my bed to the sales girl, and I was like, this is my bed. And she goes, oh, it looks like you have the big one. And I was like, okay, so what sheets? And I got the cheapest ones because I was like, I'm not spending a lot of money on this. But I got those. And then when the girl finally responded to me, that helped me. She goes, "Oh, you have the 1.5." And I sent her a picture of the sheets I got. She goes, "Oh, no, that's too big." And I was like, really? But the thing about sheets in China, as you talk about the fitted sheet, when you buy a sheet set, it's going to come with what we call a top sheet, a duvet cover, and 2 pillowcases. So I totally could have used the bigger sheets and not had a problem, but luckily I went back to the mall and they let me exchange it. So I don't know if I got the right size sheets or not, but they work for my bed. But I didn't have a fitted sheet, so that was awful for like the first week or so. And then I was doing some research. China has IKEA. So great.
Oh, you found them at IKEA.
Yes. So
Wow.
if you're in Shenzhen, there's an IKEA. And so I, like, between when I found my apartment and when I started school, I had a week to kind of get adapted, just worked out with my schedule. So I took the bus to IKEA. I was at the wrong bus stop for probably a good 30 minutes. And then I realized I needed to walk a little bit further down the road to catch the right bus. So I catch the bus.
Day 1 of your adventure, part 1.
Yeah. So, and it was really hot at this point in China, or like in Shenzhen in August. It was kind of miserable. And so I finally get to IKEA maybe an hour after I left my apartment. And I get like towels. I got towels and I got like some pots and pans because I was like, I don't think I'm going to cook in China, but I feel like I should have it. And I totally do cook now because but I got like some kitchen utensils and I got a fitted sheet. So IKEA has fitted sheets and pillows and everything. It's pretty much the same IKEA back home as it is here. So if you can hold off, you can get everything you need at IKEA. It's not like the cheapest, but it's fine. And also, you can use your Visa card there, so that was nice. So I didn't have to use cash for it all. They kind of roll their eyes at you, but you can use it, and it's fine. So on the bus ride home, I got a big blue tote full of everything that I had gotten, and then also a clothes drying rack. So I literally trotted to the bus stop with that, and luckily it was in the middle of the day of the middle of the week, and there wasn't too many people there. But I was just like, oh gosh, this foreigner is like bringing her whole house on the bus with her to go back home. And then I had to walk all the way from the bus stop back home. But yeah, it was an adventure. So I recommend IKEA, or if you know somebody who has Taobao, you can do that. But the bed sizes, I'm still confused on. So I don't really know how that works. And
I
one
got
thing
that in the US, and then I got like, my mom was like, your bed looks like a queen. So I got a queen, and then it was like too big, so I just shoved the extra under. But I was so sick of not having fitted sheets because they just fall off. Like they don't stay tucked, and they just mess up. I guess I'm an aggressive sleeper. I don't know.
And then I move around a lot too. My sheets are always all over the place. But even like when I was at IKEA, they don't have like the queen size or full size or what like what we would think is. It's like a 1 person or 2 person sleeping kind of thing. That's like on the picture. So I was like, so what size bed is this? And then I was messaging my sister back home because my internet wasn't working, to Google things. I was like, so how big is this? Or like what size bed is this or that? Because it's all in meters too. And being from the US, we don't use meters for things. It's always like inches. So you can't grasp that either. And so I finally got, I think, like a queen size one. It was a little bit too big. But then I finally got the mattress topper, which was a little bit too big for my bed too. But I sleep so much better with a mattress topper. In China, the beds are rock hard because they prefer that. So if you can, as soon as possible, get a mattress topper and you'll sleep so much better. Like my back was always hurting.
Did you get it on JD or something, or on Taobao?
I got it on Taobao. I messaged the Taobao queen and asked her for a deal.
Nice. I'm loving this Taobao queen business.
Yeah, but that was also confusing because I didn't understand the sizes, and then it's also like the thickness, and then the prices change depending on what size you're in. I was like, well, I'd rather it be too big than too small. So, I'm very thankful I got that. And then I got a new pillow too on Taobao because the pillows I got were really cheap and they pretty much like just sunk all the way down. So yeah, mattress toppers are a world, like a game changer. I sleep so much better. But also something.
If you have a decent salary, there's no need, like you can buy a few things to make yourself feel more comfortable. There's no way you need to suffer through like a really hard bed and horrible pillows.
Yeah, I don't really like my sheets, but I was like, there's no point in spending extra money on it if they work.
Yeah. I knew one guy that literally just got himself a fuzzy blanket and didn't get himself like a like a quilt or anything, like a proper blanket. She really slept with a fuzzy blanket for 2 years, and I'm like, dude, like invest a little bit to like get a little quilt, you know, like the proper bit, like the one behind you, and get something like doesn't have to be fancy.
It doesn't have to be fancy. Yeah, just something.
Cheap one that I always recommend going to like Carrefour or Walmart have like good sections. They have Walmart in China for anyone who didn't know.
Walmart is like very. Speaking of, okay, I feel like this is going on so
part of the U.S. at all.
Yeah, it's not like Walmart in the U.S. and it is so big, and they have so much food, so much everything, and there's so many people there. Like you just wander up and down the aisles, and I'm just like, I don't even know where to start or what to get.
You've got to go off time, otherwise it's packed.
Yeah. I get overwhelmed every time I go to the grocery store. I used to love going to the grocery store, but now I'm just like, I don't even know what to buy. And then sometimes the meat weirds me out. I don't know why. So I don't always eat them or like buy the meat there, but I will like just get vegetables.
I much prefer those like little people selling, not little people, but like little shops where people sell out of their house, like little tiny markets where people sell really cheap produce and stuff like that. That's usually where I'd go grocery shopping in Beijing.
Would you buy meat there?
I got meat a lot. I didn't buy it that much. If I went, I would go to Carrefour. But then when I moved to a new place, there was like a small market that they just set up in this like community center building right next to my house. And they had to meet people there with like meat cases. And there was this one guy, and all of his meat looks really good. And you could get like pork or whatever, and he would grind it for you. Like if we were making if we needed, like I'd make sausage. He grinds the pork right in front of me. So yeah, I would buy it from him, and it always looks really nice.
Yeah, so one thing when I first got here, I asked everybody where they grocery shopped. So I have a running list of all like the Western grocery stores that you can go to and get things. So it's nice to know like where you can go and get things, because there's so many little markets everywhere. But if you want like Western kind of things of some sort, like hot sauce or I don't know, just like spaghetti or like pasta or anything like that, I have a list. So I have a note in my phone of just like all Shenzhen things that anytime somebody would mention something, I just add it to my list to look up later of what's going on.
Nice. Yeah, I had a few that I would go to in Beijing, like where I could get, like refried beans and like tortillas and nice French wine and like camembert and nice sharp cheddar cheese and olives and pesto. And then I would mix it with more local ingredients. Like if I made like a pesto pasta, I just put a ton of spinach and cherry tomatoes in it to like, A, to make it more healthy, but B, to make the price more affordable. Because it's like the Western stuff is a little more expensive than home, but like vegetables are so cheap. Yeah.
And everything's like so fresh here. Mm-hmm. Did you have Metro in Beijing?
Yeah, like the subway?
No.
The shop.
The shop.
I had it in Xi'an.
Okay, yeah. So there's Metros around here, and that's where I've been buying my meat because it's already pre-packaged. So just, I don't know, it seems better for some reason. But they have a lot of like everything Western. So I feel like
they're almost like Costco. Like for the people that have been to them, they kind of remind me of Costco. They're in like a big warehouse.
Yeah, it's very like basic of things. Yeah. So
nice.
I feel like I can say something and I forget, but yeah. I don't know. We've gone on for a long time. Do you have anything else question-wise or anything that you have? I'm kind of talking more, but it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is really great. I feel like we should do some more of these, like with people in China, so we can like have some interviews and stuff. Because I feel like, firstly, I've learned a fair bit because everything changes. Things change in China so fast. Not just VPNs, but everything. But yeah, so it's good because I learned a few things that I'll definitely be sure to tell people to do, like, getting some money out, especially if you're coming later. Make sure, you get Astro and DD before you get to China and things like that. Because I downloaded a lot of those apps back before any of this was an issue. But yeah, it's been great to talk to you a little bit about Shenzhen as well, since I actually haven't spent a lot of time in Shenzhen, so it's cool to hear about how it is. And definitely keep us posted on how everything goes and like your venture into Chinese cuisine.
I eat at school every day, so that's some of the food. And I think one thing that I didn't realize, Chinese food, it's a lot of bone and a little bit of meat.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And one other thing that I can mention and recommend to people is bring comfortable shoes. Don't just bring one pair, bring numerous pairs, because you think about it, you have a car back home, so that's your mode of transportation. Your feet are your mode of transportation here. So some days I will walk like 25,000 steps.
That's good, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but I'm also like, I wear the same tennis shoes like over and over again. So I'm like, I should have brought more, tennis shoes that I can wear with other things and stuff. Because it's actually pretty casual, at least in Shenzhen. Like, I can wear jeans and a t-shirt to work and be fine. So make sure you have comfortable shoes, because that's totally like your mode of transportation, and you're going to be on your feet a lot.
Do you have like what, if you don't mind me asking, what size shoe are you? Can you buy some in China?
I'm an 8, and so with my JD gift card that I got, I did buy a pair of like white tennis shoes. I feel like I can wear more with dresses and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was able to find it, but it's also confusing because on the JD site it says, hey, we use the UK sizes, but when you translate it and you look at your sizing on your other shoes, because it'll give the translation, I was like, you're using the French size. I was like, you're not using the UK size. Oh. So it's just like, I don't know. It's just, it didn't match up with what they were saying and what the picture was. But yeah, I think I'm a 40. At least, I had a pair of Adidas and I was looking at Adidas. I was like, this will be the easiest way to figure out the conversion for it all. But yeah, I don't have.
I'm like a size 8 as well, and I usually get like 39. And that's usually 39 to 40 is usually the biggest size they have for women in shoes. And I'm always like, yes, they have to my size. Like, maybe not clothes, but they got shoes. Yeah.
I did order one dress on Taobao yesterday, so I'm kind of curious of how it'll fit, or if it'll fit. But things are cheap here.
With the sizing, it's always hard to tell. And I'm always like, okay, triple XL. Like,
I probably should have sized up one more, but I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. If anything, I can just give it away to somebody.
Usually the measurements like are somewhat accurate, but sometimes it still ends up being a bit.
But I don't have like a measuring tape. Like I wanted to measure my bed and I didn't have a measuring tape. I tried to order it on Taobao, but it's like the shipping was triple the amount of what the tape actually costs. Just because it's something.
Sometimes they have little sewing kits with measuring tapes in them, and like
that would have been like handy maybe to bring, but I didn't have that either.
If you go to like Stanley Mart or whatever, those little convenience stores, sometimes they have little sewing kits with tape in them. Yeah. So bring a measuring tape, guys.
No, I don't know. I feel like it's also hard to grasp like the meters and kilometers, because I'm thinking miles and inches, and I was like, I don't know. We've gone like so many miles or in so many inches and stuff, and then my friends are like, so what's that in meters? I'm like, I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah, I've gotten somewhat used to it marrying an Australian guy. Getting my head around all the in 200 meters, take a right. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. How far is that? Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's everything, but it's been so great talking to you, and I can't wait to get more info from you about how everything's going in Shenzhen, and feel free to post in the group and share photos and stuff and let us know about your experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are really curious.
Anyway, cool. I have one question after you stop recording. I just want to ask you about something else random. So whenever we're done.
Okay, so I'll stop recording, everybody, and then Sarah can ask me. Bye. Okay.